東大宮9月24日です。2017。
Put a line sending down to the edge of the cell, and that's the red line there. So with this nucleator probe, we are actually taking a cross-section of the particle, putting a line down, then we take the length of that line and put it in the formula 4/3 pi length of the line cubed, so we get an estimate of the volume. Because we're working off a cross-section, if we approach the cell from another direction, we will get a different-looking cross-section and a different length line. When we look at all the cells in our group, we don't want all the cells in one group to be cut along their long axis and all the cells in another group to, for instance, be cut along their short axis. So that's why we need to use a vertical section or an isotropic section when we do a local probe. We need to use fixed sections because we want to pick these cells without bias to their size or orientation. So we're going to use a dissector, and a dissector, as we showed you when we were estimating number, needs to be put down in a fixed section so you can focus through and decide which cells you're going to do the nucleator on. Then when you do the nucleator, it matters how the cells were cut. Therefore, you need to do this thing with a beach ball where your block of tissue is random in 3 planes, or do a vertical section where it is random in 2 planes. And if you use vertical sections, you're going to have to show the software what the vertical direction is because it's going to sine weight the line and make up for the fact that one of the directions is not random.
So what you're saying is that a combination of the probe and tissue, or actually if the object you are estimating to be isotropic, we have to achieve sampling isotropy in some combination of ways for the nucleator. The nucleator itself is not an isotropic.
Okay, so you're right about that. If you can somehow prove that the particles themselves are isotropic in space, and that's been done before, we can give you a reference in at least one region where someone has taken trouble to do that, then we don't have to worry about being isotropic. But we don't want to cut these particles down the long axis every time or down the short axis. Therefore, we need to take the piece of tissue and make it isotropic for the isotropic nucleator, or we need to just spin that tissue to make 2 planes isotropic. We'll make up for the other plane with the probe, and that's called the vertical nucleator. This is a rule that gets skipped or ignored a lot in stereology. You can only get something from your data. But this is probably the least forgiving of the probes because we need to use isotropic sections or vertical sections, and we need to use fixed sections.
And all of this is relevant. As you mentioned, there are some reports in the literature of proving isotopy of population of interest. There's a paper by Schmidt and Patrick Hoff that looks carefully at a population of cells in striatum in order to demonstrate that those cells themselves have no preferential orientation in the striatum, and therefore you can prepare your tissue with a preferential orientation for that patient.
If you don't know about your autism, you don't know about isotropic, then you need to use isotropic sections or vertical sections. You need to use fixed sections or probing for local volume.
Okay, so we received a bunch of questions about this next topic we're going to cover, which is length estimation. Length estimation is of great interest for those people who are interested in blood vessels in particular, as well as fiber innervation. So if you want to understand whether or not a tumor has successfully recruited blood vessels to feed it, you can estimate the length of the capillaries to give you a metric for the invasiveness of that tumor, for example.
Yes, so this is a tree, and that tree is kind of shows the historical progression of probes from the bottom to the top. So on the bottom of this tree are probes that are used, for instance, if you have isotropic tissue, and we're going to highlight that. So this is what we mean by this can be confusing, and we're going to try to demystify it. We're going to show you the 3 probes on this tree that we think that you can use for most situations.
Right, so again, these 3 probes that we're going to highlight we think are the easiest to implement and the most efficient and accurate way to get to your answer.
Okay, so if you don't want to prove that your object is isotropic, or you don't want to have to cut the tissue so that it comes out isotropic, like isotropic or vertically, the best thing to do is make the probe itself isotropic. So what we have here is it's something like a 60-micron thick stack of fibers. So we can see that this is a 3-dimensional stack, and we are going to put a surface down into these fibers to estimate the length of the fibers.
Right, an isotropic plane known as a sphere.
Yes, we're going to use a surface, and we're going to use the surface is going to be a surface of the sphere, because the sphere itself is isotropic. This probe is called space balls. We need thick tissue so we can get the sphere in the tissue. Like I said, this is about 40 or 60 microns thick. You focus up and down, and wherever you see the fibers pierce the surface of the sphere, you mark that event. So I think we can see right here that a fiber is going through the sphere, and we put a pink dot on it. So here's one space ball in every place. Then we're going to zoom in on this a little. We can see the fiber going through the surface of the sphere. The more intersections there are, the more the length is. There's a formula that will estimate that for you.
Right, and the blood vessel or fiber itself can pierce the sphere multiple times, and so long as it penetrates that plane of the sphere, you would continue to mark it.
And that makes sense. The longer it is, the more it's going to pierce. Don't forget that we're using systematic random sampling. So I found 6 space balls here, but only one of them is showing. The more intersections you get, the longer your fibers are. So we're using fixed sections so that we can use a probe that is itself isotropic, and that means we can use preferentially oriented tissue. Okay. What if you don't have fixed sections? What if you have thin sections?
If you have thin sections, your options are a little bit more limited in that you need to achieve isotropy not with the probe, so you need to get it some other way. And so the most common way is with isotropic sections. So you prepare your biopsy or your sample of interest using the high sector method, so you create it.
The more intersections you get, the longer the fibers are. But we need to make sure that this thin plane will interact with these fibers in the same way, and therefore we have to take the tissue itself and make it isotropic since the probe itself is not isotropic.
We don't know if the fibers themselves are isotropic. In most cases, I think more so than cells, I think it would be safe to assume that most fibers do have a preferred orientation, even if they were
especially in the brain. A lot of times you're not going to know that, so use the thick tissue and use the sphere. The probe itself is isotropic. If you do use thin tissue, you have to make the tissue isotropic. That's why you have this thin beach ball at the bottom.
So if you have a monolayer, the method that you can use to estimate length is a technique called petrometrics. In this case, you do get isotropy via the probe, and the output is length. And so in this case, you would have a cycloid shape here that is presented across your tissue as in a systematic and random way, and you would indicate by placing a marker on each point where the fiber crosses the probe itself.
So usually we use a plane to probe for the length of the line, but because we're in a 2-dimensional situation here, we can use one line to probe for the length of another line. I'm not sure if you guys can see these white lines inside of the counting frame, but there are these cycloid lines, and you mark where the lines intersect the fibers. The more intersections you get, the longer the fibers are. So if we summarize length estimation, remember that complicated tree. We want to boil that down to just these 3 probes.
Yep, so space balls is a thick is an isotropic probe that is used in thick tissue, and that tissue can be prepared or sectioned in any orientation that you prefer. If you have thin tissue, then you're going to be restricted to processing that tissue in an isotropic manner in order to be able to use an image plane as your probe. And then finally, if you have a model area, our recommended option would be to use petrometrics.
But if you're at the bottom of a petri dish, is what's called petrometrics. Okay, so let's turn to surface area, which is going to have similar concerns to length in that we're going to need to make sure that the probe interacts with what you're probing for in an isotropic or a random way. And we're going to narrow down this kind of historical tree of all the probes that exist in our software to 2 probes that we like that we're going to tell you about.
Right, there are many options, but we think that these 2 are used widely in the literature and are able to give you your answer in an efficient and accurate manner.
So just like with length, we're going to start off with a thick section so that we can make the probe itself isotropic. This is maybe a 40 micron thick image stack of some choroid plexus.
Oh, sure.
If we start the movie here, I'm just going to tilt it a little so that you can see that this is a 3-dimensional image stack, and we're going to try to estimate the surface of this choroid plexus. Of course, we use systematic random sampling. This might be just one of those sampling spots. We can focus up and down through the Z-plane. We're going to use a line to probe for a surface.
But just one line, right?
We're not going to use just one line. We're going to use a triplet of lines. These lines are going to be mutually orthogonal to each other. So the first line, like the yellow line, is thrown down in a random location with a random angle, and then the red and the magenta line are 90 degrees offset. See how these 3 lines, triplets, are mutually orthogonal to each other. So now we have an isotropic probe. Our job is to focus up and down and mark the event. The event is the intersection of the line with the surface. So we're focusing up and down on that yellow line, and we can see that the surface of the choroid plexus hits the line right there. So we put an event or a mark on there. The more intersections of the lines with the surface, the greater your surface area is. Notice that we're using lines that are all oriented in 3 directions. We need to do that in thick tissue so we can get those lines oriented usually orthogonal to each other in that section. But the probe itself is isotropic, so you don't have to worry about proving that the object is or doing fancy vertical or isotropic sectioning.
So in the case of surface area estimation on thin sections, so for you guys out there in the lung stereology world, this is probably a probe that you're a little bit more familiar with. You can use a probe called cycloid for SD. This uses thin SRS sections, and it gives you surface area as your output. And we're going to achieve isotropy both via the sectioning method and via the probe. So we're going to use vertical sections, and we're going to indicate the vertical axis of the section plane.
That's a yellow arrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the yellow arrow there. So you indicate that, and then the probe itself are those red lines that you see, and you just mark the intersections of the probe with your object of interest, which in this case would be the membrane of the choroid plexus.
Okay, so we don't have a thick section, so we can't stick the triplet of lines in there and make the probe isotropic, so we have a thin section. So we're using a combination of processing the tissue, vertical section, we spin that tissue block, and we'll randomize the X and the Y plane. And then we use a special kind of line called a cycloid, which is going to randomize the third plane for us. We could do a whole webinar just about vertical sections and cycloids, and we can definitely talk to you about that. But the point here is, if you're using a thin section for surface area, you can use a combination of vertical sections and a probe to ensure an isotropic interaction of the line that you're probing with and the surface whose area you're trying to estimate. So to summarize surface estimation, I think if at all possible, try to get thick sections, make the probe itself isotropic. You won't have to prove that the object is, you won't have to use a vertical or a isotropic section.
If you are using thin tissue, then it should be prepared with a vertical sectioning technique, and in that case you can use cycloids for FD.
Okay, we just got a question going back to length, and it says, can you clarify why Spaceballs is a probe for length but not density? So we are probing for length, and we're using surface, and the basic idea is that the more intersections you get of the fibers or the blood vessels with the surface, the longer they are. There's 2 methods that you can use, and have not gone into this with this talk at all. It's not under the scope of this talk, but you can use a fractionator method, or you can find a numerical density. If you use the fractionator method, you keep track of the fraction of the volume, and then we extrapolate to get the answer. And so in that case, Spaceballs can be used that way, and will give you only a length.
And that's a positive thing,
Yeah, I think it is.
If you have concomitant changes in the volume of your region and the length of your structure that you're estimating, if you're using a density measure, you may not be able to describe the difference that you see, because you could have a change of both length and volume that would end up giving a density that's the same between your experimental and control.
Yeah, so what you're saying, Sue, is that we're using model-based stereology. We're taking pains to section all the way through the region, and it's very powerful to say length per region rather than length per volume.
If you do want a density, you can then estimate the volume using capillary point counting methods, and then simply divide your unbiased estimate of the total length by the unbiased estimate of your total volume to get a length per volume value.
That's why it has space length.
And capillary, as I hope we illustrated a little bit, is capillary is very straightforward to do. It's a very simple, it doesn't take any time really to actually estimate the volume of your region. And so we recommend using a probe like Spaceballs or the optical fractionator to get your number or length without calculating a density.
If you actually do need a density, we'll think about that question too.
One last thing about length is that tissue shrinkage. So the way that you prepare your tissue is of extreme importance for length estimation.
The estimates we'll be getting will be on the tissue as the artifact has left it.
Yeah, so you want to minimize your shrinkage as much as possible, because we know that the Z shrinkage is greater than SY shrinkage when you're preparing tissue sections. So bear that in mind and be prepared to present your data as a post-processing estimate.
Okay, so we've gone through this whole talk, and we haven't really mentioned the word bias too much, but I hope that you realize that the things that we've been doing, the concepts we've been describing are to avoid bias. And one of the ways you can get into bias is where you look. And so we really wanted to stress systematic random sampling, and the idea that one histological section is only going to tell you about that one histological section and not the whole region.
Right, you want it to be representative of the whole region itself, not the way that you're looking, but the answer that you're getting. And so you need to have the whole region available for sampling in order to ensure that any changes that may be happening in different locations are observed.
So all the probes we've recommended, you're going to want to use systematic random sampling, and that's a big advantage too, because you can get a good snapshot, a good estimate of what's going on by counting surprisingly few events.
And so that's how you achieve some efficiency for your quantifications. And then you obtain this lack of bias by achieving isotropy.
Yes, this whole concept of isotropy that we talked about, look through the webinar and look at those summary slides. Those are going to be your take-home messages for when you're trying to estimate number or length or surface or volume. That's going to let you know how you're going to assure isotropy and whether you can use a thick or a thin in section.
Yep, every aspect of your feature has an equal opportunity of being visited by your probe, and that's really what we mean by isotropy. All positions in your structure have the same likelihood of being sampled. We're going to say that sampling ensures that your estimation is representative and precise, and that we're going to encourage you to choose a probe that's efficient and easy to implement in order to obtain that unbiased quantitative information that you're looking for.
And that was the criteria we used for these probes that we recommended. And as we went through this talk, I hope that this idea of behind stereology to do more or less well also came up.
Right, but do more or less well does not mean an incorrect answer. So let's just hark back to what you gain by thinking about the answer you want during your experimental design phase and choosing stereology over a method like image DA or something like that, where you're going to use an image analysis program to count cell profiles. Cell profiles, because it doesn't represent a unique point of your cell, means that you are not ensuring that you're going to count an object once and only once. Not only that, but that cell profile is going to have a bias depending upon the size of the object that you're looking for.
Okay, and keep in mind that if we don't get to your questions today, we're going to go through them and answer them, and please contact us to talk about today's topic, which is how do you decide which probe to use, or more specific topics like how do we follow the rules for this probe and how much sampling do we do.
Yeah, we have numerous webinars on our website already, and we're going to continue doing these, especially if you let us know that you like them, and feel free to offer up topics that you'd like us to address. The practical demonstration webinars cover how to implement the optical fractionator in Spaceballs, as well as Cavalieri and area fraction fractionator. You can refer to the primary literature in order to see how researchers in your field are using stereology to obtain unbiased quantitative estimates of their feature of interest. And we also have how the methods were developed as references within our software, Stereo Investigator. If you'd like to learn more about Stereo Investigator or contact us with questions, you can contact us for a free trial, and you can also just give us feedback, let us know what you'd like to learn more about. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and welcome to the SRS Image Stack Acquisition Webinar, MDF Biosciences' latest installment of our live, web-based educational demonstrations. My name is Jose Maldonado. I'm a staff scientist and research liaison here at MDF Bioscience, and I will be leading this demonstration today. The goal of this webinar is to highlight the benefits, uses, and features of the SRS Image Stack Acquisition workflow, as well as to demonstrate its application. Broadly speaking, we will be considering the following today. What are SRS Image Stack series? Why would I want to use them? How do I generate a series of SRS Image Stacks using SRS Image Stack series workflow? Over the next hour, I will also take you through a step-by-step live demonstration on the use of SRS Image Stack series acquired workflow, with question periods throughout and after the live demonstration. For any questions not answered or addressed during our live demonstration, please visit our forum at forums.mdfbioscience.com. Alternatively, feel free to email us at info.mdfbioscience.com. Our demonstration must begin with a bit of background. The first question to address towards this end is simply, what is an image stack? Image stacks are high-resolution, disease-stacked images. The thin depth of field makes these images suitable for stereological analysis. In order to have these images be suitable for stereological analysis, means that we must acquire them with a high-power objective lens. Using an objective lens with a high numerical aperture means that very small increments can be used between each disease-stacked image. I'll have more of the use of high-powered objective lenses later in our demonstration. SRS Image Stack series, then, are a group of image stacks acquired in a systematic and random fashion and are suitable for stereological analysis. Image stacks are taken only where stereological probes will be placed. Image stacks can be analyzed offline on any Stereo Investigator workstation. Let me expand a little bit on the topic of systematic random sampling. Systematic random sampling involves having to use it to determine or define the distribution of stereological probes, or in this case image stacks, but not their location. This graphic shows the placement of acquisition sites, illustrated as small black line squares, and their systematic placement in reference to each other within the user-defined contour. SRS distribution of sampling locations will be varied from one acquisition run to another, as the software decides where to place these sites. Acquiring an SRS image stack means that image stacks will be acquired from random locations, but their position relative to each other will always be determined by the user. Acquiring an SRS image stack series requires specialized microscopy hardware. Very basic hardware requirements include a high-resolution digital camera, motorized stage capable of directing movements in X, Y, and Z axes, a computer running MDF software to drive all the motorized components of your microscope, and critically, high numerical aperture objectives. Let me expand on the topic of aperture and objectives a bit more. In order to discriminate one or multiple objects in tissue, we must use objectives with the ability to focus the very thin depth of field. To achieve this, we must use an objective lens with a high numerical aperture. Using a 60x or 100x foil objective is critical for stereological analysis, where the discrimination of two closely spaced objects is required.